Hey mates, it's me Riz doing reaction on channel. Just quick update if anyone is curious about. If not, you could skip to my reaction somewhere down below in the description. Been moving my room around, not this one, and just the recording may be a bit different. It may sound not I don't know, just adjust your volume and see where this comes up. But anyway, this video is an oversimplified video called The War of the Bucket, which just the name of it, and when I saw the thumbnail, I'm like, there's no war against the bucket, was there? It's just a joke. Which I'm 100% sure there was no war between a bucket. If I was to hazard a guess, during the time period, it must have been that a bucket was stolen during the Middle Ages, and I'm guessing it might have been two city-states that were just warring with each other for some reason. Could be any war that happened. Not familiar with the Middle Ages and what wars happened. You know how I do these things. I pause, I put my own thoughts on it. I pause, I rewind, I fast forward. You know how, like I said, you know how I do these things. So let's go. Also, if my voice sounds a bit funny, just my throat has been hurting a bit, or kind of like running out of breath or something. Or that could be just my imagination. So let's go.
Alright folks, gather round. I've got some good news and some bad news. Did you say good news and glad news? I said good news and bad news. Very bad news. Word on the street is there's going to be a horrible plague coming in from Central Asia in the next couple decades that'll wipe out half of Europe. What's the good news?
Okay, so during this time it's going to be somewhere in what was it? Black Death was in the 14th century, I believe. Or maybe this, although this at this time this could be very late 13th century, or let's say this is somewhere what I'll say 14th century. So what's the good news?
Do you have a cure? Please say you have a cure. No. Even better. The good news is we've got a new bucket for the city well.
Yep. Well, at least they. Well, it's a joke. This is definitely going to be a joke, isn't it? There's a catch to this, isn't there? You're not fooling me.
To understand the War of the Bucket, we first need to talk about this guy. He's
the
man with the plan, the host with the most. He's holy, lowly. He eats
wait, back up. Wait, back up.
To understand the War of the Bucket, we first need to talk about this guy. He's the man with the plan.
Show me your birth certificate.
The host with the most.
Okay, sorry, I'm just amazed about just like Pope cupcakes. No, that's.
He's holy, lowly. He eats ravioli with the white.
Alright, not about the video, but about the Pope, that I realized that the Pope-mobile was an actual thing, which, look it up, if anyone's curious, look up the Pope-mobile. It's like, how to describe it? It's like, the biggest, glorified bulletproof car, to say the least, all visible and stuff.
Cassock, matching Pellegrina, and the most tasteful of fringed fascias. Come on, y'all know who I'm talking about. It's the Pope, the head of the largest religious organization in the world.
And it won't have a spare. Okay, which, okay, does anyone know what this is about? I'm guessing this is something to do with other, maybe this is how exactly that he's allowed to wear this, or that is this a culture thing on wearing this, or you know what I'm trying to ask. let's continue.
World. But what if I told you he wasn't always the big bad boy powerhouse he's often thought as today? That's right. Throughout history, the papacy often found itself forced to wrestle against adversity and opposition to retain its authority. The earliest popes, for example, suffered under the brutal persecution of the Roman Empire, and many ended up martyred, such as...
Wait, back up.
Suffered under the brutal persecution of the Roman Empire, and many ended up...
Let's see, St. Peter's, Pope Sixtus, Pope Linus, Pope
martyred, such as
Pope Clement, Pope Soda,
Pope Clement I, who was ostensibly thrown into the sea with an anchor around his neck. On the bright side, however, he's now the patron saint of fishermen. After persecution finally ended, the Pope still found himself being heavily controlled by secular kings and
Oh yeah, that's kind of the weird thing with during the Roman Empire. Before Romans were persecuting Christians. I'm not gonna get into the involvement of that, why and the history of that, but about when Pope Constantine, if I'm correct, or at the point that one of the Roman empires became Christian or baptized as Christian, and then Christianity became the... You know what? I'm just gonna continue.
ability.
If I don't know what I'm gonna say, I'm just gonna continue with the video, cause yeah, let's see.
For over 2 centuries, the bright
Back
side,
up
however,
here.
he's now the patron saint of fishermen. After persecution finally ended, the Pope still found himself being heavily controlled by secular kings and nobility. For over 2 centuries, the Byzantine emperor basically decided who could become Pope. Then came a real low point, during what has been called the Dark Age. A period where noblewomen controlled the Pope through, how should I put this, feminine charm. It was a...
Okay, just let not be say that the Christianity has changed over the past 2,000 years. Even today keeps changing, but a decade, well, that's because we still live in each decade. But you know, it's funny how religion changes over the years, and yeah, is there a flame war in my comment section? I'm just gonna continue, cause oh my god, I'm gonna be starting flame wars in my comment section, aren't I?
Around here that one infamous Pope, John XII, took office. This bad boy would hold, how should I put this, naughty no-clothes parties in the Lateran Palace. And apparently, this would even happen. Come on, Zeus, give me a 6.
What? Cool. I don't think this thing would exist until... Actually, when did craps became a game, like this whole gambling bit? Also, would the Pope know about Zeus? Actually, you know what? Actually, yeah, but I don't think he would call it out. I mean, there was, I think, a position at that high up would at least know, at least the Greek gods and Roman gods, maybe by name, but not extensively, though kept hidden.
Did I say Zeus? I meant Thor.
That same question, but you know, that kind of depends, that honestly depends on which year and location, or who was the current Pope at the time. That's actually curious. When did Christianity knew about the other gods, or when did they forget them, or when did they knew about them, or who knew about them? Now, of course, learning another religion would be considered, at the time might be considered blasphemy, or maybe at least knowing it, but teaching it or worshipping it, definitely at least worshipping another god was definitely considered pagan for the time. Though, I don't know, it depends on, could be depend on location and such. I don't know. I'm very blind at what during this time and all this. Maybe someone will put it in the comment section below. And another flame war is there.
Ra, the Egyptian sun god?
What? Okay, I'm convinced. No, I don't think the Pope would have known the gods of Egypt. If this was what? After the Romans, like what, say 100 years? Then no, I don't think he would know. But I don't know. But that's the thing, I'm just taking guesses. And is anyone realizing that these caps kind of remind me of some sort of part of an apple? Or nectarine? I don't know, I'm just hungry for fruit for some reason.
Dang it, who is it we worship? Perhaps you should read this, Your Holiness.
Really? That actually happened?
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth? Wow, this is wild. Pope John XII eventually died exactly how he lived, caught in the act by an irate husband who picked the Pope up and chucked him out the window.
You couldn't say he deserved it.
The point I'm trying to make here is that often the Pope was a very weak and corruptible figure and was regularly used and controlled by secular leaders as a tool to increase their own power and influence. And there was certainly...
Actually, that's a lot of religions. A lot of religions do that. If not all of them, at some point were used for political gain. I mean, sure, the teachings, religion was there for morals and guidance, but to the aristocracy or the nobles, it was used as a political tool if they could use it. But why am I not surprised about this?
An element of that in the year 800, when the Pope and the Kingdom of the Franks were good BFFs, and
like Kingdom of the Franks then soon gets split, and then soon we get from the Kingdom of France, Kingdom of France, or damn it, I'm tongue twisting myself. Yeah, there's Italy, then there's Papal State, then you have soon you'll have all these other empires just popping up. Eventually, this will get split. We'd have France, then we'd have a bunch of other little city-states, and then kingdoms.
And King of the Franks, Charlemagne was like, hey man, being King of the Franks is nice and all, but I want more legitimacy, and also to become the continuation of the Roman Empire. So what's in return
he becomes
for my
the Holy
protection,
Roman Emperor.
You crown me Emperor, so everyone
Holy
will
Roman
respect
Emperor.
me more. Sure thing, pal. We'll hold the ceremony tomorrow. Charlemagne, King of the Franks, I hereby crown you Emperor of the West. Oh my goodness. I was not expecting this at all.
So, I just realized this is the same symbol I use in Bannerlord.
What a surprise.
Sorry, just
I simply cannot
surprised.
accept. Oh, okay then. I guess I'll just put this back over here. Give me that crown! Charlemagne's crowning as emperor was certainly an historic moment.
And there we have the really depressed... I never got why they did paintings that just made everyone just like, the fuck or what the faces. Like everyone looked all sad when they did the paintings. Maybe this is like the artistry doing jabs at the nobility. But here's the question: why do artisans do these sort of expressions? Was it because of the time period? Was it because of misery? That I'm
But it
curious
also
about.
created a bit of an interesting problem. It set the precedent that from here on out, only the Pope could crown an emperor. But the Pope was also very much under the influence and control of Charlemagne.
Seems like a... Would this be considered a holy powder keg? Well, anyway, this is probably going to lead to a war.
So who really held the power here? The Pope or the Emperor? I'm sure that this conflict won't cause anyone to die. Bishop of Freising, we want to thank you once again for visiting our wonderful city. It's been an honor. The pleasure is all mine, and what a wonderful tour it's been. I've seen the city walls, I've seen the towers, nothing could top that. Oh, couldn't it? Because we've saved the best for last. Ta-da! Yes, that's very interesting. Isn't it the greatest thing you've ever seen? Well, I mean, it is just a bucket. Get him out of here!
I love the face, the fucking pissed off face.
Over time, Charlemagne's position as emperor and the kingdom of the Franks gradually evolved into the Holy Roman Empire.
So what happened to this chunk? Seriously, what happened to this chunk? I don't know. Like, I don't have my phone with me and I just can't search this up on the fly. Wait, Holy Roman Empire. Ooh.
And by now, the Pope and the Emperor weren't such good friends anymore, since neither could agree on who was the boss of who. To make matters worse, the Emperor had taken to investing his own bishops and abbots.
Okay, I've got... Alright, if I'm a betting man, I'm gonna assume that this king's gonna die, and then at some point, the next successor is gonna be a child king. I mean, you know, it kind of.
What does that mean? Well, allow me to explain.
Sure
the problem
that.
for the Holy Roman Emperor was his
It's
empire wasn't really an empire, so much as a nightmarish federation made up of hundreds.
See, look at this.
Hundreds of counties, duchies, bishoprics, and more.
Yeah. So I say city-state, but there's always... It's just... how I kind of sum it up. Like, look at all this. This is all... Drives you mad that there's all these little bits and pieces of the Empire, and they just were fealty to the Emperor, I think.
More. The princes in charge of these local regions often didn't give the emperor their loyalty. The German nobility spent a lot of their time rebelling against the emperor, and the emperor spent a lot of his time trying to put down those rebellions. Can we get rid of them? Who? All the nobility. Get rid of them and pick new ones who are loyal to me. You can't just remove noble families from their territory. Please? Aw, okay, how about this? Some of those territories are ruled by bishops and abbots, and as Holy Roman Emperor, considered by many to be the deputy of Jesus Christ himself, perhaps you can choose who gets to become bishop and abbot. Yay!
Oh, that... Okay, there was a mission in a game I played, Kingdom Come Deliverance, about, that you took a quest from a nobleman that was a big guy, that investigating a certain high-ranking official from the church who was just there to slay heretics, but he had the thought that his estate would be taken because what should I say? Christianity or the Catholic Church? I can't figure out what. I'm just gonna say the Catholic Church. I might be wrong, but I need to find a way. I need to say something to sum it up. The church. Actually, you know what? I'll just say the church. All right. The church was very powerful back in the Middle Ages, and for obvious reasons, they kind of had support with the Holy Roman Empire, but since the Holy Roman Empire and the Holy Roman Emperor, oh my, you know what, I can't sum this up, and there's another find more in my comment section. So let's
now continue. It's time to turn out the lights and go to sleep. Okay, I love you. Okay, good night. Say it back. And so it was. The emperor invested his own family and loyal followers into powerful church positions, and thereby was able to increase his own power and authority. Not only that, but the emperor and other nobility were also engaging in something called simony. That's when someone would come along and say, hey, I want to become a bishop and get all the personal riches that come with the position. Perhaps we could come to some kind of arrangement. That's right. Church positions were actually being sold to the highest bidder. And let me tell you, they probably didn't come cheap. It's gonna cost you.
Now there's a question. How much did it cost to get into a position like that? Wait, doesn't that sound very familiar? Like you... Huh. That reminds me of the Epic Games Store tactics. Wait, reminds me of Epic Games' brute forcing into the video game market with its own platform. So...
you a lot more than this. I don't think so. I've got a promo code. Always one day of for me, everything free. OverSimplified. Now we're authority. Oh yeah, investing bishops and abbots, selling church positions, authority and power. Wait a minute, this is depravity.
Back
Positions,
up.
authority and power. Wait.
Sorry.
A minute? This is depravity. The purpose of the church isn't for him to increase his own authority and power. It's for me to increase my own authority and power.
Come to think of it, what was... What?
What about Jesus, Your Holiness? What? I thought the purpose of the church was to spread the good message of Jesus Christ. How drunk are you?
Huh. This is kind of... This is a weird parrot. You know what? I'm not touching this one.
Very. Alright, the results for the election of Chief Magistrate are in. Giovanni Kablami, 1%. Spaghetti Jeff, 2%. And the bucket, 1 trillion%. Around the year...
Yeah, it's making it way too obvious that the freaking... Oh, come on, this is...
A series of reformist popes came along, and they said enough was enough. They wanted to stop the emperor from abusing the church and investing his own church officials. How are you going to stop me so long as I have control over who becomes pope? Remember the circular power division? If you try to stop me, I'll just depose you and pick someone else. Oh no, I've contracted tuberculosis! And just like that, the emperor was dead. His 6-year-old son, Henry IV, took over. And as we all know, child emperors equal opportunity. The church had an opening to take back control of the papacy. Hey man, I hope you don't mind, but we're changing the...
You know, just... Yeah, it seems like this is the biggest disadvantage, one of the biggest disadvantages of creating a monarchy without a parliamentary. Because when your ruler is a child, there's always opportunity for people to gain more power from it. And you know what? Let's
continue. The rule said that only the church cardinals can elect the pope, and you no longer have any say in the matter. You know, if that's cool with you. I peed my pants. Okay, great talk. Then, with the position of the Pope a little more secure, he held a big meeting where he drew up a big list of all the reforms and new powers he was giving himself. And it included some pretty gnarly stuff. Okay, first, I have the power to depose emperors. Everyone cool with that? Yeah? Let's see. Only I can depose or reinstate bishops. Yeah? Alright, no one can judge me. All princes shall only kiss my feet. Only my name shall be spoken in the churches. My name is the only name in the world. Okay, I think you're done.
Did he actually put those actual little bits at the end? I wouldn't be surprised if he did put those bits, but just saying, did he?
These were all some pretty radical powers to...
Oh, here we go. Okay. Oh, gee. Latin, I think. Yeah, yep, Latin. Principle, yep. He alone can depose a child. This is the only name. This is the only name in the world. Oh, so that was Princess. I'll kiss the feet of the Pope alone. Oh, oh, he actually did say that. Dictatus papae. Sorry, my Latin is non-existent. Only know Deus, and a few other et and Esther. You know what? Couldn't speak Latin to save my life, but I don't think. So here's the question: What are the other rules or decrees he put here?
The Pope was giving himself, and with these reforms, the Pope was basically telling the Emperor, you no longer have the right to choose your own bishops and abbots. Only I can do that. When the Emperor, now a full-grown man, heard the news, he was furious. What? This is madness! Who does this guy think he is? I'm the Emperor, for goodness sake! He can't tell me what to do! I'll invest my own bishops and abbots if I want to, and this rapscallion can go right to heck! I peed my pants again! The whole conflict escalated when Henry IV went to the Pope and said, hey, guess what, sucker? You're deposed.
Oh.
Wait a minute? I'm the Pope! You can't depose me! You're deposed! Oh.
I see the predicament.
Wait a minute. I'm the Emperor. You can't depose me. You're deposed. Oh. Wait a minute. Eventually, the German princes took advantage of the situation, and they all turned against Henry. Henry was forced to apologize to the Pope, and the whole thing ended there. Except it didn't. The whole conflict, known today as the investiture controversy, would continue on for centuries as popes and emperors engaged in a power struggle over the emperor choosing his own church officials. The overall result of this conflict is very intricate and full of complexities, but
and also a sliver of that piece of history is from the events during Kingdom Deliverance. Oh, I could be wrong on that, but that during that time there were three popes around, or being announced that they were popes, or declared as popes by others, or declared by what? One from the papacy, one from the Holy Roman Emperor. Oh my goodness. See, this is why I don't focus. This is so difficult, and I know I'm gonna be wrong on all this, so you know what? I don't care if I'm gonna be wrong about this. As long as people correct me, I'm not gonna worry about if I'm mistaken on this.
The Pope was able to increase his authority. Great news, Your Holiness. Your influence is on the rise throughout civilized Europe. Except for this one city in northern Italy. Really? What's going on there?
Ow.
As for the Emperor, he found his realm thrown into further chaos and civil war, as the local princes continued to increase their own power and independence. This was most notably the case in northern Italy. Separated from the rest of the Holy Roman Empire by the Alps, the Emperor's influence and control over Italy had often been questionable. In the current chaos, these Italian city-states began operating almost entirely independently. Their practical independence was further solidified when Emperor Frederick Barbarossa came down in 1176 to try to reassert his control. The cities formed an alliance, and with the Pope's support, they kicked the Emperor right back to Germany. Hooray, said the Italian city-states. We did it! We're the best of friends. And then they immediately began attacking each other. Why? Well, this whole Pope versus Emperor thing, in Italy at least, had infiltrated society to its very core. Across Italy, families and cities were torn between two opposing sides. On one side, the Guelphs, who supported the Pope's cause. On the other, the Ghibellines, who supported the Emperor. These two sides struggled for control as Guelph cities battled against Ghibelline ones. As usual, personal interest played a pretty big role, as pro-Pope Guelph cities tended to be rich mercantile ones who didn't like the Emperor's taxes. Emperors supporting Ghibellines, on the other hand, were often agricultural, where the expanding papal states were a larger threat. These cities...
Oh, wait a minute. Is that... Wait, I remember there was a certain, fight between, the Florentine city-state against the Florentine, one of the city-states in Florence, or Florentine, city-state, I could be wrong on this, but, it was Florentine and another state, damn it, I can't remember this other state, but the two states when I looked at it, that one was more city, had more agriculture and more on trade and business, and it seemed like every year that they were going at they kind of went to war one year they go to war, one year they didn't go to war, one year they're going to war, one year that they're at peace, and then another. Like they kind of had like a yearly a warring of war and peace throughout their time. Though I still can't remember. I think this might have been the case with what we're gonna happen. I'm guessing.
Sometimes even switch sides depending who is in charge and their ever-changing personal
Wait.
interests. Cities would sometimes even
Hey,
switch sides depending who is in charge
just want to play Smash with.
and their ever-changing personal interests.
Yeah. That seems like the biggest case for, heck, even going back before all this happening. A lot of heck, even back 12th century, 11th century. When it came to a lot of there was like a bunch of villages, or like at least maybe some fiefdoms that they just simply don't get involved. Like they still do the trade with anyone who invades. Like they don't fight or put support as long as the attackers don't as long as they cut do the appropriate terms of either surrender or just going through them. They sort of like was sort of like continuous neutrality, but still be occupied by by whoever whichever benefited the fiefdom or city state, whichever part where they benefit the most, from which side they just go from side to side. And I wonder if there was like how much of a consequence was that? Because I don't think much was big consequence depending on each state, location, fiefdom. Oh my goodness, I don't know what to make of it, but let's get going.
In some cities, brutal fighting broke out in the streets as opposing families fought for control. At
Yeah.
times, the conflict became so tribal that the differences between the two sides were just downright silly. My love, I can't bear it. We must.
Oh, and that's the inspiration to Romeo and Juliet. Damn. And real. That explains why it was.
Must be together. But how can we? My Ghibelline family wears feathers on the left side of their caps, and your Guelph family wears them on the right.
Is that
My
actually
Ghibelline
true?
family cuts fruit straight down, and your Guelph family cuts fruit crosswise.
This is starting to sound like that Dr. Seuss book about tolerance. I can't remember what was it about. I can't remember the name. Shit, I don't know. But it pretty much escalated where two sides were pretty much building a big arms race with each other, and it came to an end where pretty much both sides kind of had two eggs that would just blow up, just destroy both sides. But then they came to some cliffhanger on will they continue fighting and such. But the whole fighting of all this was because one spreads their butter upward and the other spreads their butter down. I am not kidding, or I'm remembering this wrong.
These are arbitrary differences. We shouldn't let them tear us apart. We can be together no matter what our families think. Wonderful news! Let's make a toast to our love. I'll drink from my Ghibelline smooth goblet, and I shall drink from my Guelph chaste goblet. Get out of my sight, you dirty Pope-loving wench. Two city-states in particular that got caught in a long-standing rivalry was the Emperor supporting Modena and the Pope supporting, bucket-loving, Bologna. These two cities had bad blood between them, as they had already fought against each other on a number of occasions. In 1249, the two sides took part in the Battle of Fasolta, after which the victorious Bolognese launched a live donkey into Modena to humiliate them. For decades after that, the two sides would occasionally take little day trips into each other's territory and mess things about a bit. In the fateful year of 1325, the Bolognese went on one such trip and laid waste to some farmland.
Spaghetti bolognese.
The
I'm guessing.
ruler of Modena, Passerino de Bonacolsi, was having none of it. The Bolognese had two major forts protecting their city in the southwest, so Passerino, in retaliation...
What's the difference between a fort, a castle, and a town? What's the difference between them? Because because one, a castle can also be a fortress as well as its own right. But a fortress, is that less people living in it to do the work, or what's the difference? Because, or was there any, or was the different, was it like all blurry, like in Shades of Grey, on what it was? Because you take it on a case by case basis of what it is. Oh, forget it.
Decided to take an army down and lay siege to one of them. Hey, you dirty Bolognese jerks! You think you can raid our farmlands? Come out here and face me like a man! Hey man, what's up? I've just come out to let you know that there's no need to siege us because... Whoa, hey man, chill out. I'm trying to tell you... Whoa, stop doing that! I'm trying to tell you I'm actually secretly sympathetic to the Imperial cause and I want to willingly hand the fort over to you. Oh, cool. Okay. Dude, what was that for? For betraying your people. And this is for joining mine. Mwah. The Bolognese were pretty unhappy to lose one of their main defensive forts, but to make matters worse, then this happened. Hey, wait a minute. Where's the bucket? Oh no, it's gone. Those Modenese must have taken it. We'll make them pay. This is unacceptable. They may take our lives. They may take our fort, but they will never take our bucket. Oh wait, here it is. I found it, guys. It's right here. Phew. Could you imagine if we started a war over that? That would have been really stupid.
Yeah, it would be stupid.
And there'd probably be a billion videos about it on YouTube one day. Thank goodness it never actually happened. That's right. The famous story you may know about the War of the Bucket.
Seriously, if there's a video about the War of the Bucket, it's just as ridiculous as the War of the Emus. There would be some serious context to what would that entail. I mean, it's a good title for people to click on and watch, but I think there's like a lot of context missing on why would it be called it. I guess it was, you know.
That the war started because Modena stole Bologna's bucket doesn't actually seem to be quite right. I was surprised to find that the bucket was likely not actually stolen at the start of the war. And at this point, I want to
yeah, my guess is that they stole it after. Like, remember that, you know, it's weird that soldiers kind of steal pretty much anything that's not nailed down while they're traveling. So, and also stuff like such as bucket, but also rope, maybe some farming equipment, some small thing like a silver cross, maybe some gold or coins, some bread, or any type of food that they could take along with them. You know, depending on what are the terms of what they could take and such. And, you know, bucket is, you know, useful but easy to take with and kind of useful at that time. And yeah, the bucket would be taken after some battle, or heck, if you have to strip the land or such. Anyway,
I think I can give a big shout out to fellow history YouTuber M Laser. He's the one guy I found who actually translated a fantastic original Italian source, and then kindly allowed me to use his work in my own research.
Huh. Good for him.
He does really well researched and in-depth videos, and definitely deserves way more subscribers, so please head on over and check him out. The real reason Bologna seems to have declared war on Modena is simply that they both hated each other, supported opposing factions, the Pope had called on Guelph cities to attack Passerino, and Bologna wanted its fort back. And they were gonna get it back. Bologna had a large force, much larger than what Modena could muster up.
Better equipped and more experienced though.
So they felt pretty confident. They sent half their force to lay siege and take back the fort, and the other half took defensive positions to prevent the Modenese from crossing the river. The smaller Modenese force were struggling to find a place to cross, so one night they were like, "Hey guys, look out, we're attacking way up here in the north, better move your troops." Oh, would you look at that? That was easy. And just like that, the Modenese were across the river. The Bolognese were probably expecting the Modenese to come and break their siege, but instead, the Modenese went for the second fort at Zappolino. Bologna couldn't afford to lose both of its defensive forts, so the entire Bolognese force moved to take defensive positions at Zappolino. When the Modenese arrived, it was already late in the day, and there were about 2 hours of sunlight left. In most medieval battles, at this point, both sides would set up a camp, rest for the night, and prepare for battle the next day. But the outnumbered Modenese decided the only way to win was to deal a quick, decisive blow while the Bolognese were still unorganized and unprepared. And that's exactly what they did. They charged at the Bolognese line, and the two sides engaged in fierce combat. Then the sneaky Modenese pulled what must be the most predictable, yet somehow consistently surprising move in medieval warfare. They sent the cavalry around the side and hit them from behind. Bing bang bong, the Bolognese went on the run. With casualties in the thousands, Modena had
wish I could do
won, and the Modenese cavalry chased the Bolognese cavalry all the way back to the city. After Modena's victory, they went on a tour of the Bolognese countryside, burning some stuff down along the way. When they reached the city itself, instead of laying siege, they set up a camp and basically held a massive party for 3 days.
I don't think they were sieging it.
The defeated Bolognese could only sit back and watch as the Modenese force began packing up and getting ready to leave.
Really? That's what they did, just to rub it in them? Well, that maybe they had like a small siege or something, but no? Okay.
They noticed something. Oh my gosh. Hey, check this out. No way. Are you kidding me? They're still using traditional wells. Hey, you dumb Bolognese. Ever heard of an artesian well? You can't even get water out of the ground without using a stupid bucket. It's not a stupid bucket. It's a wonderful bucket. Yeah, whatever, bucket boy. We're taking this with us.
And also a bunch.
So Modena stole Bologna's bucket and put it up on display in their cathedral, eventually moving it to the city hall, where it remains on display to this day.
You know, it's those things. It's always those little things that you do, just eventually through time, it just becomes its own thing. Believe me, I think there's like a bunch of those small things that happen that it's not that that's not very significant today, or maybe blown out of proportion, but it was something very small at the beginning, but then blew up. Like, maybe that came out wrong.
The two cities came to a peace settlement a few months later. Bologna would have to pay heavy war reparations, and in exchange, Modena would return all conquered territories. Modena kept the bucket. Despite being one of the bloodiest battles in medieval Italian history, it didn't really change anything, except now Modena had Bologna's bucket. As for the larger power struggle between the Pope and the Holy Roman Emperor, that would continue on for some time, and played a part in many major events of
Oh, the Great Brexit War. The 2019 raids of
medieval history, such as the Crusades, the Protestant Reformation, eventually leading to the general separation of church and state we see in Europe today. So there you have it. We learnt about the Pope and the Holy Roman Emperor, the investiture controversy, and finally, the War of the Bucket. It's been a long day, and it's time to turn out the lights and go to sleep. Okay, I love you. Okay, good night. Say it.
Okay. Oh, and there it is. Oh, they've gotten a lot more subscribers. Good for them. We'll go check that out later. And yeah. Yeah, I knew that this War of the Bucket had a bigger tail to fill. Like, I don't... Like, it's actually pretty impressive that War of the Bucket, or just the big battle they had, this big or small battle, depending on what it is, it was just one piece of history that just like it's just one piece of history that was just part of a bigger picture. You know, that is, you know, that's a thing with a lot of stories. Hey, if anyone who's heck, even me when I research with Australian history, when I look through stuff in World War One, or particularly more in World War Two, there are small events that are so mind-boggling and such just like holy shit moments, but they were just part of a much bigger picture. Like I've seen like this one soldier that I've researched that who was in both two one Australian soldier who was both in World War One and World War Two, and he wasn't going through well in World War One. He suffered from gas and almost buried alive. Then in Second World War, details are not clear on what he did, but they was saying that he had involvement in either the Pacific or Europe is, choose your poison on that. But when he was back home, he had there was a lot of problems with relationship. When he returned from World War One, his best mate banged his wife, who, well, they were both having an affair, and also they were running the business that he made and run it to the ground, and then afterwards he had to pick himself up and do it all over again. Then found his second wife, which they remained faithful to throughout the. Why am I talking about this? I'll mention this particular soldier in my list that I'm doing my official list that I'm writing about through the next update. I'm say update, but it's going to be a more official list on the things that I've picked for topics, and all you commenters or viewers get to put down and say which interests you most. And with that, that's it for the video. Thank you for watching to the end of the video. Please like and subscribe, it brings a smile to my face. Sorry for the throat speech. Throat is killing me, but it's not life-threatening. It's not, or it's just probably due to the new recording setup I've got. But that's it. Have a nice day and stay safe.